Hey guys, it's me Sujo over here. Today I'm back with another video, and I'm going to be talking about what I think about the Vietnam younger generation. so, a quick disclaimer over here is that I'm not trying to make this like a negative video, but this is like from my personal experience of living over here in Vietnam for 5 years, and my interactions with the younger generation population here in Vietnam, the Gen Z population, Gen Z. So, what I think about it and why I feel that the younger generation here in Vietnam, they're in a crisis and it's getting worse. So I'm going to explain that to you. So, like I said, I'm not trying to make this as a negative video, but this is something which I really wanted to talk about for a very long time, and I really hope that you can take something productive out of this video. And if you are a Gen Z, or if you are in the college, if you're studying in a college here in Vietnam, or if you're a college student, or you're just a young Vietnamese person working in your job here, like you're in your 20s, or maybe you can try to take this video in a productive way, and just try to understand how I feel about it as a foreigner. I'm not a white person, so I'm coming from India. I have I'm a non-white person, but this has been my interaction with the younger generation population here in Vietnam, with a couple of Gen Zs out here, and how they perceive me. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. So let me just it's so hot nowadays, so I'm just gonna grab a bit of my drink. So I'm trying to be like a Gen Z today making this video, but I'm in my 40s, but just thought for a change to switch up my drink, instead of having a coffee every goddamn morning. So yeah, I've seen a couple of YouTube videos. I wanted to know about the younger, the younger generation here in Vietnam. Now I do understand that like Vietnam is a fast emerging economy. Like a lot of things are happening, and of course at the same time, and I was in the education sector here in Vietnam. So like I used to teach English over here for 3.5 years here in Saigon. I've taught many various public schools, centers. Yes, I can see that the students are under a lot of stress from their parents. It's not very common over here, like if you have Vietnamese friends, who are your Zalo contacts. Like the younger generation, it's not very uncommon to see that they'll end up going to the hospital and taking all the insulin, sending a picture, as because of the stress, the exhaustion, anxiety. It's very common over here in Vietnam that the younger generation, they go through a lot of stress, anxiety. Maybe it's the pressure from the family, because I presume that the status of the family is not very good, and they want their children to do well in life, so they put a lot of stress. I would say unwanted stress, that you got to perform very well, and definitely that psychologically impacts the younger generation over here in Vietnam. They'll end up going to the hospitals with severe trauma and anxiety attacks. It's not also very uncommon to hear about parents abusing their children, especially if they're in high school. I've had these kind of situations, it's all about performing well in the school. I mean, I've had this experience. I've taught countless public schools here in Vietnam where classrooms are filled with 50 students, and I guess due to dysfunctional families, it kind of reversely impacts the children, the students. Like it's not very uncommon to hear about foreign teachers complaining about not all the students in the classroom in Vietnam, they pay attention to the teacher. Even if you are doing a lot of activities and just doing a lot of classroom activities, but the students who are like half of them who sit behind, they just don't fucking focus on the teacher. They're with their cell phone, or they're doing makeup, and lack of respect for teachers. So definitely it impacts these students when they go to the college, because I mean, I've even I've even experienced just spending a lot of time in a couple of these Vietnamese colleges, trying to understand how students are, when I was back in those days trying to promote my my private English teaching business. I would go up and talk to the students, or just give some brochures around. Some they would just they would cramp up the brochure and throw it in the bin. Respect for the teacher. Like I've even hanged around a lot. UTech University, and like a couple of different universities when I used to market my English teaching business, because I had an English teaching business before. But like I said, it's just that like I know that I'm a person of color, okay, but it's just that it's very horrifying actually to see when they interact, like they just I would say definitely also it's a mixture of a racist attitude towards when they look at a non-white foreigner, they don't want to mix with that person, they don't want to communicate with that person. Sometimes they feel like, oh, this guy's an English teacher, or like I had somebody from the college who came up to me and said, are you a teacher? Yeah. And then because of course, and then he told me, I remember that student told me, he's a college student, that Vietnamese student told me, but you're not white, how can you be an English teacher? And that was told to me, and I felt so bad about it. But I knew that it's nothing surprising, because most of these students, these college students, Vietnamese college students, like they have, I'm not pretty sure if they have a very open mindset, if they know a lot about the world, because like 90% of the time when you try to talk to these younger generations over here, especially students who are in the colleges here in Vietnam, it's all about I want to go to America, I want to go to Europe or something. But I'm not quite sure if they are very well educated about about India being a very fast moving economic superpower. Because like I said in a couple of my previous videos, like when Vietnamese think about India, it's all about yoga and curry, but they have a very lack of knowledge. And I even made a video about the hate speeches, the hate comments which I saw in one of the articles from VN Express, and I even justified that. So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of mixture of racism which is influxed with the younger generation Vietnamese population. And like majority of the time, like if I'm going to a coffee shop over here, or if I go to a cafe or a restaurant, of course, who are the people who are serving me? These are these young Vietnamese girls and boys, maybe they're doing part-time jobs, if they're in colleges, or but like I said, this impacts them, because then they give a terrible customer service. Like when I try to order something, they look at me and they say like, there's no proper welcome, nothing, rude, mixed with racist ideology, and like, because in their perception it has to be like, okay, if it's if you're a white foreigner, if you're a white expat, you're going to get the best treatment, but if you're black or brown, you're not going to get a good treatment. And if you're coming from India, you're not going to get a good treatment in customer service. So I mean, because these are the people who are working in all these restaurants and cafes. They actually are these college students. They graduated from these colleges. The mindset is definitely not, I mean, the outlook is not in a very good direction. I mean, I'm not quite sure if if they know about the world, if they are, what they're actually studying about India and other emerging economies or whatever it is. But what I'm saying is, like, I'll give you a perfect example. Like, and if I compared back home in India, like most of the younger college students in India, they're very, very friendly. They're willing to, they want to mix with all types of foreigners, irrespective of the foreigners coming from Africa, from Middle East, from Europe, or they just they have that friendly attitude. They have the smiles on their faces. They just want to go up and talk to the foreigner and, like, just say, like, excuse me, where are you from, or how do you like India, where have you been in my city, and they just, can I have your contact number. They want to be so mixing. A perfect example also over here for the younger generation, why I feel the younger generation is in crisis here in Vietnam, is, take for example, if you're going to District 1, you go sit down in the parks, and you have these young Vietnamese students who want to learn English or who want to communicate with foreigners who speak in English. The most disgusting part is they'll just go and target foreigners who have white skin, okay, and they want to just talk to them in English and communicate with them. It doesn't, even if you're coming from Europe, it doesn't make you a native speaker of English. I mean, the guy can even come from Romania or Serbia or whatever it is, but he or she's not a native speaker. But just because the foreigner has white skin, these students, these Vietnamese younger generation population, they'll just directly approach them. And it's so sad to see, like, all the foreigners who are coming to Vietnam, who are coming to that park, Indians, Africans, they're sitting alone. Nobody wants to approach them. Nobody wants to mix with them. Nobody wants to make friends with them. So, I'm really afraid that, like, the younger generation over here in Vietnam is definitely going through a crisis. And that is mixed with racism, with the racism attitude. And it's just that I think the mindset is very limited, because I don't know what these students are learning in the colleges, but majority of the time they just want to say, oh, I want to go to America, I want to go to America, Australia, but that's the lack of that's it, I mean. But like I said, I've stayed in Australia for 4 years. I was in Sydney, and life is not that easy, like I remember I used to work 1 year with Woolworths. I did night filling job. I slogged my ass off. I was a postgraduate student, and I would start my shift at 11 at night, and I would finish by 6 in the morning. And I would be doing night filling at Woolworths, George Street, and I packing up, picking up heavy boxes, forklifts and all that stuff. So you have to do that to survive. So life is not like a bed of roses. Like what most of the Vietnamese college students over here have a perception, like, oh, they want to go to America, Australia, and they're going to have a good life. Yeah, the environment is good, but at the end of the day, you have to work. You have to take up part-time jobs. You got to work with Burger King, or you got to work at a nail shop, or whatever it is. But to earn your expenses, so it's not that easy. But like what I said is that the personal interactions which I had, is I would say very few of the younger generation Vietnamese whom I've communicated with, they're a bit more polite, and they want to learn about where I come from. They want to learn more about India, and and they get more impressed when I say that I'm an English teacher, because they communicate more with me. But also, if we rewind back the whole process, I would also like to, I would also like to blame the parents, because like I remember, when I used to teach when I used to take a few of these substitute classes at kindergartens and all that, and when I would walk out of the school gate, I would see the faces of these Vietnamese parents. They would just look at me with disgust, because they thought that the teacher has to be white. And so of course it's the upbringing, the environment, so I wouldn't say that the younger I would not say that the younger generation of Vietnamese people are going in the right direction. And like, even for example, if I'm going down to District 1, if I'm going to hang around with tech schools, most of these younger generation office workers, these office girls and these office guys, they have that, they have that attitude in their mind that, oh, I'm some kind of a special breed or something. And, when they look upon me as, because I'm not a Caucasian expat or something, and they'll look at you with that hateful face and disgust. It's happened a lot even in the coffee shop. So the environment definitely gets a bit toxic, because like I said, most of the younger generation over here in Vietnamese, they're like infused with that racist attitude, and it's not going to help in the long run, because if Vietnam wants to completely globalize itself, it has to tackle racism in a very big way, in all forms and shapes. And I would say that the media needs to definitely, start creating an awareness about this. I don't know why the government is not working on this, but as a non-white person, I usually face a lot of racism and discrimination on a daily basis. If I go downtown to Ho Chi Minh City, poor customer service, rude talking, those hateful looks, non-friendly, non-mixing. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it does happen most of the time, and it's happening from the younger generation population. But if I'm going to be communicating with an older generation Vietnamese over here, surprisingly, they're very nice, they're very friendly. They treat me so nicely and so well. It's like completely opposite, the younger generation and the old generation Vietnamese people. They are the most nicest human beings which I've ever encountered. But most of these younger generation Vietnamese, I worry for them, and it's like in a crisis mode right now. Like I said, the anxiety, the stress, the environment in their house, in their homes, the upbringing. They may be having the nicest iPhones, or they may be having the coolest laptops, but they're not a bunch of mixing people. They're not very used to, I would say that the younger generation Vietnamese, they're still not very used to, they're not very used to interacting with other foreigners who look different. Say the person is coming from India, so in their mindset, it has to be like, if the person is the foreigner, if the foreigner is a white person, just say hello, or just try to be more friendly. But it's never happened to me over a period of 5 years here in Saigon. It's never happened to me. I know, because, like I said, the environment is such. The younger generation is infused with this racist attitude. And it's so sad, because when these college students, they graduate, they go to the college, they start their jobs with these corporate environments, with these corporations, and they bring that kind of mindset in the workforce, which is really not good. So yeah, so like I said, I'm going to end this video right now. I'm sorry, I really had to express myself because this is what I've been going through, and this is my intake about the younger generation over here of younger generation population here in Vietnam. And yeah, I mean, they don't care about the American war and all that, which is completely okay with me. I mean, I don't have anything to do with that, but this has just been my personal experience of what I feel about the younger generation over here in Vietnam, and why I think it's heading towards a crisis. So with that being said, you guys have a great day. Peace out.